The next day felt heavier than the last. Jungkook sat in the doctor's office again, Taehyung beside him, their silence sharp enough to cut glass. The doctor cleared his throat, eyes scanning the results. Mr. Jian, your condition is unusual, but not harmful. In fact, it's something I rarely encounter. Jungkook's hands trembled in his lap. What are you saying? The doctor hesitated, then looked at him directly. There are strong indicators that you might be pregnant. The world seemed to stop. Jungkook's eyes widened, his breath hitching. That's impossible, he stammered, shaking his head violently. I'm a man. That can't happen. Taehyung's expression didn't waver. He leaned forward, voice calm but firm. You're saying it's possible? The doctor nodded. Medically rare, yes. But with your specific physiology, it isn't impossible. Jungkook felt his chest cave in. Pregnant. The word echoed, suffocating him. His throat tightened, his vision blurred. No, he whispered, clutching at his shirt. No, this isn't real. You're lying, Jungkook. Taehyung reached for him, but Jungkook pushed his hand away. This marriage wasn't supposed to mean anything. Jungkook's voice broke, pain bleeding through each word. And now you're telling me? He couldn't even finish the sentence. Taehyung's jaw clenched. The news shook him too, but unlike Jungkook, he didn't recoil. He reached forward again, steadying Jungkook's trembling hands in his larger ones. Listen to me, Taehyung said, his voice deep, unwavering. If this is true, then it changes everything. But it doesn't change us. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears. There is no us, he whispered bitterly. But the way Taehyung's thumb brushed across his knuckles, the fire in his gaze, it told a different story. On the way home, Jungkook turned his face toward the window, silent tears streaking down his cheeks. Taehyung didn't push, didn't speak, but his hand rested on Jungkook's knee, steady, grounding, refusing to let him face this storm alone. And though Jungkook wanted to shove it away, some fragile part of him clung to that touch. The silence between them grew like a wall. Jungkook avoided Taehyung for 2 days after the doctor's visit. He buried himself in the guest room, claiming headaches and fatigue, though Taehyung knew better. Every time he tried to check in, Jungkook shut him out with sharp words and a forced smile. But Taehyung wasn't blind. He saw the way Jungkook's hands lingered over his stomach when he thought no one was watching, the panic flickering in his eyes whenever the word pregnant echoed in his mind. On the third night, Taehyung had enough. He pushed open the guest room door without knocking. Jungkook, curled up on the bed, sat up instantly, anger flashing in his eyes. Do you not understand the concept of privacy? He snapped. Taehyung's expression was unreadable, his voice low. You can shut me out, Jungkook, but it won't change reality. You're not alone in this. Jungkook's throat tightened. There is no this, the doctor is wrong. It's impossible, is it? Taehyung stepped closer, his presence suffocating yet grounding. You've felt it. You know something is different. Jungkook shook his head violently, tears brimming. Stop. Don't say it. Don't make it real. The air crackled with tension. Jungkook tried to push past him, but Taehyung caught his wrist, pulling him back against his chest. You think I don't see you breaking apart? Taehyung whispered, his breath hot against Jungkook's ear. You think I don't feel how much you're hurting? Jungkook trembled, his walls threatening to crumble. His body betrayed him, leaning, just slightly, into Taehyung's warmth. Why are you doing this? Jungkook's voice cracked, his chest aching. Why are you acting like you actually care? Taehyung's hand slid down, firm against Jungkook's shaking fingers. His eyes burned with something Jungkook couldn't name. Because I do. For a moment, Jungkook allowed himself to believe it. To feel Taehyung's heartbeat against his back, strong and steady, promising things Jungkook had long stopped hoping for. But just as quickly, fear surged back. He tore himself away, wiping his tears furiously. This marriage wasn't supposed to be real, Jungkook whispered, broken. Taehyung's gaze softened, but his voice was steel. Then tell me why it feels more real than anything I've ever had. Jungkook had always been strong. Even when his world fell apart before, even when loneliness clawed at him, he carried himself with pride. But now he felt like a fragile glass about to shatter. The nausea hadn't stopped. His body ached in ways he couldn't explain. His reflection in the mirror no longer looked like the person he once knew. And every time Taehyung's voice slipped into gentleness, every time those steady hands reached out to steady him, Jungkook's heart cracked a little more. That night, the storm broke. Jungkook woke up trembling, chest tight, tears spilling without reason. He tried to stifle the sobs, pressing his hands against his mouth, but Taehyung was already there. Jungkook, the sound of his name, spoken so softly, undid him completely. He shook his head, twirling into himself. I can't do this. I can't. Taehyung knelt beside the bed, his large hand brushing away Jungkook's tears despite Jungkook trying to swat him away. You don't have to do it alone, Taehyung said firmly. You don't understand. Jungkook's voice cracked, breaking into a sob. This isn't what we agreed to. This wasn't supposed to happen. Taehyung's gaze didn't waver. He reached out, gripping Jungkook's trembling hands in his own. You think I care about a piece of paper? About a contract? His voice was low but burning, steady as iron. I care about you. Jungkook froze, breath catching in his throat. Taehyung leaned closer, his forehead pressing gently against Jungkook's. So scream, cry, hate me if you want, but don't shut me out. Don't carry this weight alone. Jungkook's resistance crumbled. He broke into sobs against Taehyung's chest, fists gripping his shirt desperately as though afraid Taehyung might vanish if he let go. Taehyung held him through it, one arm strong around his back, the other stroking his hair with a tenderness that burned through Jungkook's defenses. For the first time, Jungkook let himself be held, not as part of a deal, not as a role to play, but as himself. Fragile. Terrified. Needing someone. And Taehyung didn't let go. The morning after Jungkook's breakdown was strangely quiet. He woke to find himself still in Taehyung's arms, his cheek pressed against the warmth of his chest. For a fleeting second, he allowed himself to stay there, to listen to the steady heartbeat that had carried him through the night. But then reality came rushing back. He pulled away quickly, mumbling, I'm fine now. Taehyung didn't push, but his eyes lingered. Those dark, unreadable eyes that seemed to see right through Jungkook's words. Later that day, Taehyung made a phone call Jungkook didn't hear. A private specialist. Discreet arrangements. Everything handled behind the scenes, just as Taehyung always did. Because if Jungkook wouldn't protect himself, then Taehyung would. At lunch, Jungkook sat stiffly, pushing rice around his plate. Taehyung set his chopsticks down, watching him carefully. You need to eat. I said I'm not hungry. You'll eat, Taehyung replied, voice calm but unyielding. Jungkook's frustration bubbled over. Stop acting like you care. Stop pretending this is anything more than what it is. Taehyung leaned forward, his gaze sharp, unwavering. And what is it you, Jungkook? A contract? A mistake? Jungkook's throat tightened, his eyes stinging. It's terrifying, he whispered, his voice cracking. The confession hung between them, raw and trembling. Taehyung's expression softened. Slowly, deliberately, he reached across the table, his hand covering Jungkook's. Then let me be terrified with you, he said quietly. Jungkook's breath caught. He didn't pull away this time. That night, Jungkook stood alone on the balcony, the cool breeze brushing his skin. His hands lingered on his stomach without him realizing, fear and a strange, fragile hope warring inside him. Behind him, Taehyung appeared silently, draping a blanket over his shoulders. Neither of them spoke. But the closeness, the quiet, steady presence, spoke louder than words. And for the first time, Jungkook allowed himself to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as alone as he thought.